Hello fellow golf ball addicts, welcome back to the channel, and today we have another golf ball review coming for you. This time it's one that has been highly requested for a while. I've seen slowly it just trickle through my comment sections for the last 2 years now, and finally I was able to test it out. This is the Wilson Staff Zip golf ball. So this is one of the cheaper models that Wilson offers. You find them in your Walmarts a lot, or I think you can get them on Amazon, and you can even get them from Wilson direct, but they're more budget brand, you know, two-piece soft golf ball, very low compression, kind of designed at the beginner, but we're going to test it. A lot of you have told me that you have had phenomenal luck with it and you want to see the numbers, so we're going to get into that and see how it goes. Before that though, let's get into the design of the golf ball. So as you can see, that Wilson logo at the front is just a very basic logo with that Wilson number design of the number 2. And then if we come over to the side here, we see that the alignment tool isn't nothing to write home about, but on these lesser golf balls, the cheaper ones, they usually aren't, unfortunately. We just haven't seen that catch up to the market yet. This is a very basic, it's a little thick of a line, it's more like a medium, it's not super skinny. So it is kind of thick and black, I like that, but I don't like that it's off center, and then it just says zip in the middle, so you know, nothing to write home about. Not terrible, I've definitely seen worse, but I wish the alignment tool was a little thicker. But overall, if you look at the dimple pattern, it does have a very unique dimple pattern to it, with having small in there and then large and medium. It just has all kinds of different size dimples in there. And then the shiny coat on top obviously is a cheap, you know, Iommi or Surlyn blend probably, which because of the price, you're obviously not going to get anything urethane, which is fine for two-piece golf balls. That's pretty common. So overall, everything here just looks pretty normal. So with that being said, this golf ball comes at a price range of $29.97, but that's not for 1 dozen, that's for 2. So it ends up being about $15 a dozen, which was just a little more than like the Pinnacle Rush, but pretty on par. You're basically paying just over $1 a golf ball, which is really almost about as cheap as it gets, to be honest with you. But that's what I've been testing a lot of lately. I've had some really good results, and I've had a couple that haven't been not so good. But let's go ahead and go out to the chipping and putting green, and let's see how it did around there. All right, out here on a gorgeous sunny day here in Florida with the Wilson Staff Zip golf ball. So as you can imagine, it's very, very soft, so it did come off of the wedge. I mean, basically like butter, a very spongy effect. It doesn't take much to really get it off there. I wouldn't say it's the softest golf ball. I tested one not too long ago where, I mean, it was completely dead. You couldn't feel it. This one you can feel just a tiny bit, but it is still very, very soft, which of course means, unfortunately, because it is a two-piece and it's very, very, very soft, there isn't a lot of grip around the green, so the checkup isn't as good. It does kind of act like it wants to check up, like you'll notice your ball hit the turf and kind of act like it's going to check up, but unfortunately by the time it hits that second or third time, it's just going to keep rolling, and it has a very long roll to it. So honestly, not much spin at all. I mean, toward the bottom, maybe not the lowest I've ever tested, but definitely, you know, toward the bottom of that. Coming off the putter, I mean, it is like butter, honestly. There's a very, very minimal feel when you hit it dead center, and honestly, it rolls a very long way. It actually took me a second to really get used to it because I had to really shorten my swing down on my putter quite a bit because the ball was just rolling so far from hitting it. I mean, when you hit the sweet spot, the ball just jumps off the putter, which is really good for a lot of young beginner players or even intermediate players because you just don't have to come back as far. So that's really good there. And if you hit it off the toe when it comes to the putter, there is a good feel there to let you know that you actually did mishit it. So it's a good balance. Wilson did a really good job here. Overall, I like the experience around the green, but if you are looking for a lot of checkup from a two-piece golf ball like the Zip, you're just not going to get it. It's more of a hit the green and release. So if you're on a course where you need a lot of spin, especially around the greens, chip and get out of bunkers and stuff, it might not be good for you there. But if you're playing on your normal course or whatever, and you've got plenty of green usually to work with, honestly, it can't go wrong. Okay, so no big surprise there. I expected that with a two-piece golf ball, but let's get into these numbers and really see how it does. Starting off with the 9-iron, 95.4 on the ball mile per hour speed. That is phenomenal. That is one of the highest I've ever tested. Really, the Sugar and the Precept Laddie are the only two that have gotten that high. Anytime I get 95 or higher on a 9, that is just an exceptional number. It's really good, and it's very common for these low compression golf balls to compress a little bit more off of the higher lofted clubs. So it's off to a great start. 132.4, 127.2 on your distances. That's phenomenal. Anytime I get over 130, that's awesome. And then a 21-degree launch, so actually a very high launch, very high. The only one, I've gotten a couple that were higher than that, but they were kind of astronomically high, very abnormal. I don't know why they were that high, but this one actually is a 21, which is the highest out of all the mid-ranges I've tested. You know, the Vice Pro, or the Vice Zero, excuse me, had I think like a 31 or something, which was just ridiculous. I don't know what was going on with that golf ball, but this one, most of the time I see anywhere between 19 and 20 and a half, so 21 is a little higher of a launch, especially on a consistent basis. Those numbers are really good. I like those. You're probably not going to get as much spin with the 9-iron, obviously. That's why it launches a little higher. But I did gain some distance, so you know you kind of have to trade one for another sometimes. But let's get into the 7-iron and see how that did. Starting off, we have 6,329 on the RPMs, which is about a low to average number. You know, 6 is on the low side, 7's on the high side, so anywhere in the middle there. It's like a low, medium, average, somewhere in there. 107.4 on the ball per mile per hour speed, which is awesome. 107 is what I always strive to get out of a 7-iron. If I get 107, that's a really good number. This one was actually 107.4, so it was even in the middle there. That's nice. 162.1 on the distance, 150.7 on the carry. Two of the best numbers I have tested so far, period, which is awesome. Love to see that. The ball really has a phenomenal feel to it. I mean, when you hit it, it just really springs off the club. I mean, right before your eyes. Sometimes your eyes have trouble catching it. If you blink, you'll miss it, and it just springs so fast. So those numbers do not surprise me at all. 18.1 on the launch angle, and that's actually kind of on the lower side for a 7-iron. So it's actually launching really low with a okay amount of spin, and it has tons of distance. So I love to see that. That's all really good there. Let's get into the 5 hybrid, 3,699 on the spin. So that's pretty low. That's definitely on the low side for sure. With these 2-piece golf balls, that's kind of common, especially when you get into the hybrids, 3 woods, anything like that. But that is on the low side for sure. 117.4 on the ball mile per hour speed, which again is just a phenomenal number. Really good there. I'm surprised this ball has been able to keep these phenomenal numbers through the club so far. 196.9 and 182.4 on your distances. Whew, that's far. That's really far. And again, the ball just jumps off the club and has a phenomenal feel. No matter what club I'm using, the feel was just phenomenal. Just that right balance of a little tiny bit of feedback, but nice and soft. Just that perfect ratio. A lot of golf balls have a hard time finding that perfect ratio. This one does it really well. So last but not least, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the driver because, you know, so far it's been almost darn near perfect numbers, so I'm really nervous about this, but 2,954 is for the spin, which is about the average. 3,000 is about the average mark, so that's nothing wrong with that. And then ball mile per hour speed, you're looking at 134.6, which is a very good number, so it was able to keep that through all the clubs. Your distances 244.3 and 223.7, awesome, and a 14.1 launch, which is about average, medium, somewhere in there, just an average launch. So honestly, I'm really glad to see that. What happens a lot of the time with these golf balls, the 2-piece, more softer models is, you know, the 9-iron performs phenomenal, the 7's pretty good, the 5 is okay, and the driver sucks because as you get to the clubs where you swing a little faster, it just doesn't compress as well, and that's very common. This one just stayed so consistent throughout. I mean, throughout the whole process. All the numbers were very good to excellent. Loved seeing that. It's a very impressive golf ball. And I'll tell you something right now, what I was really most impressed about this golf ball above all else was the level of forgiveness. And if you have not watched my channel before, forgiveness is something that I'm very stingy about. It's one of the biggest things I test because a lot of golfers, I think 90 to 95% of golfers need a ball that forgives them, where when you hit it a little off the toe, you still get at least most of the distance you would. Whereas, you know, if you're losing 20, 30 yards on a mishit, it's going to really eat up your strokes. This one right here, I was blown away at how well the zip forgave me on miss shots, on miss hits. You know, with the driver even. Yes, I have a very forgiving driver, but still, on most golf balls, if you miss hit with a driver, hit it off the toe a little bit, you'll lose, you know, 15, 20 yards. I was losing like 3 or 4 with this golf ball. On iron hits, a lot of the time I was losing only 2 or 3. I mean, it was just nothing. I'd hit a golf shot, I'd immediately know it wasn't any good. I'd turn around, I lost maybe 2 or 3 yards and lost almost nothing in ball mile per hour speed. That's why a lot of these numbers are so good, because the forgiveness was just off the charts. I've had a lot of guys ask me in my comments, you know, hey, what would you say is the most forgiving golf ball, or what are your top 3 most forgiving golf balls? I can tell you right now that at this moment, this is the top, and it's not close. This is the most forgiving golf ball I've ever tested. It's so impressive. It really was. I was blown away with it. All right, so far, everything has just been phenomenal. How about the durability? Well, Wilson has a knack for really having some good durability with their golf balls, and nothing changes here. This is also really good for being a two-piece cheapie. Looking at it, you can see some scratches, you can see some dings, there's some dirt marks and stuff, but most of what you're seeing there is actually just dirt. It'll wipe away. There's a couple scuffs here and there, but this golf ball could absolutely continue to be used. Even for another round probably. So I would give it definitely a 4, 4.5 out of 5, somewhere in that range. The durability is excellent, especially for the price you're getting. That's just phenomenal. So one of the things we talk about on Golf Ball Addict here is we search for the perfect golf ball, and I will tell you that the search will, of course, continue, but we have definitely found one of the big winners so far. It's very rare I test a golf ball that has this type of consistency, this type of jump off the club, this type of forgiveness. I mean, it was just a really amazing golf ball, and it doesn't surprise me because, again, you guys have been telling me for 2 years that you really like them. You know, there's some diehard fans out there that are like, Nick, you got to try this golf ball. I've had really amazing luck with it. You got to try it. You got to. And you guys were right, 100%. This golf ball is the real deal. For the price it is, I would put it up right there with the Cut Red. The Cut Red's phenomenal, and I would put it right up there with it. You could use either of those golf balls. I would actually be interested to do a comparison to this side by side with the Cut Red and see how it does, just because I feel both of those golf balls are so well put together, especially for the game. So honestly, who would I recommend it for? Most players. The only player I probably wouldn't recommend it for is I have a 95 mile an hour swing, 92 to 95. So if you're probably at a 100 mile an hour swing with the driver or more, you might start to see a drop off. You might go for more of a 3-piece or a firmer golf ball at that point. But if you're under that, if you're 95 or under in any way whatsoever, I think this golf ball will definitely do you well. It's going to hit long, it's going to hit straight, it's going to be very consistent, it's going to be very forgiving, and it's definitely going to knock some strokes off your game. Guys, as always, keep watching to keep saving, keep learning. Got more ball reviews coming your way shortly. Thanks a lot.